Hello, welcome students, good morning. Here is Sonu sir with a new video of class 7th SST and our history portion, and in that we are taking our chapter 5, Mughal Empire and its prominent rulers. And students, in that we have been discussed up to Aurangzeb and Aurangzeb reign and what revolts were there in the time of Aurangzeb against him. We discussed and we were started Deccan policy on page number 62 in previous video. Students, I am forwarding from there and starting in revision our Deccan policy, page number 60, student in your course book, Deccan policy. So students, first you have to understand that in your India's map, this south area and Deccan pretty nearby area is known as Deccan states, and that all Deccan states like Golconda, Bijapur, Ahmednagar, and there were 5 states nearby here, Deccan states. So these all Deccan states were prominent as a rule, and when Aurangzeb started the win of Deccan or the victory of Deccan, he sent his governor Shaista Khan, as he was a Subedar in Mughal army, and Shaista Khan was sent as a governor in Deccan. So students, at the time of the Deccan policy and Deccan winning and Deccan victories of Aurangzeb, there was an also prominent ruler, Shivaji in Maharashtra. And as you know, Marathas and Maharashtra is also nearby Deccan territory. So Marathas and Maharashtra, Shivaji wanted to capture Deccan from the hand of Aurangzeb. So Shivaji assignated or made Shaista Khan powerless with the raids and guerrilla wars of Shivaji. So it is mentioned Deccan policy. Students, in your course book, I am starting. Aurangzeb acquired Ahmednagar by a treaty in 1636, Golconda in 1685. So 1636, 1685. These are years in that he captured simultaneously those states of Deccan, and acquired Ahmednagar by a treaty in 1636, Golconda in 1685, Bijapur in 1689 during his stay in Deccan. His toughest struggle was against the Marathas led by the great Maratha chief. And if we see this area, it was the Deccan nearby, and this is Marathas. So it was hard to capture Marathas, and it was toughest struggle of Aurangzeb against Marathas, and it was led by the great Maratha chief Shivaji, who almost assassinated Shaista Khan, the viceroy of Deccan. Aurangzeb continued with his struggle against the Marathas, but failed to subdue them till his death in 1707. So students, in history, there are 2 characters and 2 pairs which were in continuous confliction, but the results never came. And 2 pairs were, first pair was there Akbar and Maharana Pratap, and second pair was there Aurangzeb and Shivaji. If we talk about Akbar and Maharana Pratap, as we know, Mewar was not in capture of Akbar. Never he always been, in threat of Maharana Pratap. And here also Aurangzeb always tried to capture Maharashtra and Marathas, but in the life of Shivaji it was not possible. And till his death, means till Aurangzeb's death in 1707, they were not being able to capture Maharashtra or Marathas only because of a prominent leader of Marathas, Shivaji. And students, I have been discussed and taught that these two parallel government was there. One government of Aurangzeb, it was Orthodox Muslim government, and one government of Shivaji, it was Orthodox Hindu government. And students, Shivaji always tried to, follow Hindu system and tried to, decrease the exploitation of cows. Killing of cows were there. So he opposed that all things and made, group to decrease this type of crime. And also he started, capture of part of different parts of Maharashtra and Gujarat and all nearby time, and get a hard conflict with Aurangzeb. So students, if we talk about Aurangzeb's struggle of Maharashtra and Deccan, so he sent Shaista Khan, and Shaista Khan was not able to stop the power of Shivaji, and he never, being able to capture Maharashtra. I am talking about Aurangzeb. So Aurangzeb as a king. Our next topic, Aurangzeb the king. Aurangzeb's religious policies included the reintroduction of jizya for the non-Muslims. So students, here we have to stop for jizya. So students, there is a short history of jizya. It was introduced by Qutb-ud-Din Aibak, the first sultan of slave dynasty, and then fully introduced by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Firoz Shah Tughlaq. It was fully introduced by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Then, after Firoz Shah Tughlaq, when the Sultanate, get ended, then Akbar, when Mughal rule started, Akbar prohibited the jizya tax, which were taken from Hindus for their pilgrimage. If Hindus wanted to go their pilgrimage, that means temples or anywhere that they want to travel, in the religion travel, they had to pay taxes. And what was the name of that tax? It was the jizya. So students, it was started by Qutb-ud-Din Aibak and fully introduced by Firoz Shah Tughlaq, but was prohibited, was declined by or stopped by Akbar. And then after Akbar, some successors were there. After Akbar there was Jahangir, and after Jahangir there was Shah Jahan, and after Shah Jahan there was Aurangzeb. And Aurangzeb again started and and this jizya tax was reintroduced by Aurangzeb. So by this we can understand Aurangzeb was not having religious intolerance or religious tolerance. He had intolerance about other religions. That is why he promoted mostly Islam and Orthodox Muslim, and he always demotivated or de-encouraged other religions like Sikhs and Hindus and all. So students, if we talk about the Aurangzeb as a king, so Aurangzeb the king religious policies include the reintroduction of jizya for the non-Muslims. He discontinued it. And if we're talking about non-Muslims, not about Hindi or Hindu, it is all about Jain, Hindus, and Sikhs and Christians also. So he discontinued, but the major loss was Hindu. So he discontinued with the festival of Nowruz and forbade singing in his court. And he was as orthodox as, I have to say, write the meaning of orthodox, Hindi meaning of that is Kattar. So he was orthodox Muslim. So that is why he banned or he prohibited all Hindu festivals like Nowruz or Navratri, as we celebrate in Maharashtra and Gujarat. He forbade or he prohibited and rejected and banned that festival. And singing in his court was also forbidden or banned by Aurangzeb. And practice of Jharokha Darshan. What is Jharokha Darshan, students? You can see in bird body. the practice in which the emperor addressed the people from the balcony of forts and palaces. So it was started by Akbar, and Jhanukha Darshan was there, and king used to come on their balconies and be face to face with their darbaris and prajas, and after that they in the morning they see each other and get a get together of well-being. So it was Jhanukha Darshan which was started by Akbar, but Aurangzeb banned it or forbade it or stopped it. So his constant interference in the Rajput states of Mewar and Marwar led to heavy losses of lives and money. So he was cruel king. He had tried all way of victory or win, and by that he also was in some favor of Rajputs, but he was well known that without capture of Mewar and Rajasthan's Rajput, it is not easily we can say that we had captured so much. So it was essential to capture Mewar. So for that he had to pay more tribute of lives and blood and battles. After only that he was able to capture Mewar and Marwar. But after heavy losses, he somehow not fully captured of there, but somehow he retained his rule there. And if we talk about our next topic, it is Mughal court. So students, as you know, he was an Orthodox Muslim. He had banned all singings and arts and all type of like Jhanukha Darshan and festivals of Hindus, and he also reintroduced the jizya tax which were imposed on non-Muslims. So students, but we are talking about his court and all Mughal court, because we have been finishing emperors or prominent emperors of Mughals. So now we are discussing on Mughal court. So the Mughals maintained a dignified court with places assigned for each noble, with the king sitting on a raised platform. There was a raised platform, and all nobles and his ministers had a seat, level of king and king seated seat they had. And Diwan-e-Am was the whole reserved for the public audience. It was also made by Akbar. So Diwan-e-Am, that word is so Diwan-e-Am is people. So if you talk about Diwan-e-Am, Diwan-e-Am was the whole reserved for the public audience. So for simple public or normal public, it was an hall, Diwan-e-Am, made by Akbar, and in that every kind of public, simple or general public can associate with this and share their problems. So there was an hall Diwan-e-Am, and which along with there was a different hall Diwan-e-Khas, and that hall was reserved for private audience or VIP audience. So by the name, Am means general public and Khas means important or very important public. So this was person. So this Diwan-e-Am and Diwan-e-Khas made by Akbar was in Mughal court. Okay, Diwan-e-Am was for simple public and Diwan-e-Khas for private public. And then we see central administration. What was the central administration? How they administered their rule from central. So the administration was centralized with the king having absolute power. The king was as absolute power, supreme power in central administration of Mughals. And the central administration was based on the division of power between various departments. The king was top of the head of administration and divided the power in the hand of nobles and ministers. And then some various departments were there with the head of the departments. Like previously has been discussed, now there are 4 important ministries and departments in Mughal court, and in them first was Diwan or Diwan-e-Ala. So Diwan and Diwan-e-Ala is both same word, and head of revenue department. The head of revenue department whose collection was Diwan or Diwan-e-Ala, and that word also has been used up to Gandhiji's father was Diwan Rajput, Karamchand Gandhi. So that word is being used till now. So Diwan or Diwan-e-Ala was head of revenue department, tax collection department, and was responsible for income and expenditure of the kingdom, and was responsible for the counting and calculation of income, that means earnings of court and kingdom, and at the same time expenditure means expenses, and what the money expend or something expenses there, they had to check out there. And second department was Mir Bakshi. Mir Bakshi was head of military department, was the head of nobles as well as the intelligence and information agencies of the empire. So these four department he had: military department, and he was also head of the nobles and intelligence and information agencies of the empire. He had four categories and department, but he was the head of all, and he was known as Mir Bakshi. So most ofly male person and people were there, so we can use the word he. So he had having four department of nobles. He was also head of nobles. He was also head of military department. He was also head of information agencies and intelligence of court. Then Mir Saman. Mir Saman was in charge of the imperial household and supply of provision and articles for the inmates of the palace. So Mir Saman was responsible for the food items or any type of provisions or articles or items that is needed in inmates of palace who lived in palace. So this all collection of home items was in charge of Mir Saman. Then students, Chief Qazi head of the judicial department, and Chief Sadr were responsible for the charitable and religious endowments. So there were two posts. Chief Qazi was head of judiciary system, and Chief Sadr was responsible for charitable and religious endowment. If there is any charity, there is any donation or religious endowments or help of some other religious personalities, so that is somehow work of Chief Sadr. So students, we have concluded in this video three topics: taken policy, Aurangzeb as a king, Mughal court, and central administration. Now we will move on in next video, and in that we will read provincial administration. We read central administration. So there is a homework. You have to write three topic summary. First is Jharoka Darshan, second is JGR tax, history, and then central administration of Mughal court. Okay students, in next video we will forward provincial administration of Aurangzeb. Okay students, and till then read more and more, and if there is any query you can ask on my number. Till then, have a nice day. Thank you.